There's just a wide variety of solution capabilities inside of Infor CPQ, but there are really these 9 main ones. And if you look, I'm using the dotted line again to say, all right, a lot of these things are happening more on the front end, right? I want to generate that lead. I want to capture it. I want to convert that lead to an actual opportunity and start to quote it. And then I want to be able to convert it to an order and generate all that back end information. And you might be thinking, yeah, we don't really have bills of materials, right? We're not a configured item, but you might have kits or SKUs and just different shop orders. So when we talk about this dynamic generation, it's not all or nothing. It can be little bits and pieces, of all of this. Perhaps you already have an analytics solution within your four walls today, but what you want to do is you want to be able to take advantage of the ION technology stack and push those approvals for that quote using the ION workflow capabilities and cut out, Jim or Susie or Lisa having to get up and go around and chase those quotes or send multiple emails. We have specifically 6 of those visual engagement and interaction options, and I talked about how important visualization was at the very beginning. So I'll touch on that a little bit. There are these advanced quoting capabilities, right? So this is on top of what ERP backend system estimating has available. This is where you do the quote versions and you can save a lot of that information. It knows who you are when you log in. But this can actually be used for both internal and external selling channels. So that's also a bonus because your internal sellers can support their external sellers because they're using the same solution. I mentioned workflow and approvals, but it's also designed for extensibility. So there's certain things you might want to offer in a particular market of products that you sell. Maybe it's to schools or to government, and that's completely different than if you are supporting more commercial buyers or OEMs. The system makes it very easy to select, configure, and price the products. There's a whole variety of different techniques that can be used. You see, we're using images, we're using radio buttons, there's ability to have drop downs. So we mentioned about the workflow capabilities. Want to also make sure that those workflow capabilities can also be set up to support your external users as well. So in many cases, it takes out time, effort, clicks, and just logging into applications for your internal folks so they can focus on more value-added activities. We talked about the easy selection and pricing of the products, and I mentioned that there were a variety of different ways that you can engage your user. So what you see over here to the right is actually a 2D fully parametric model. And if I would go in and I would select different dimensions or a different slider axle instead of a fixed axle, these can generate new images immediately. So it can validate for the user that they have the right product. And also this selection process, you can set it up to where it ensures that only valid options can be selected. You can gray out different things to say, nope, they're not available. Or you can have pop-up messages that say, if you're looking for a 105 inch exterior width, you need to go to this next model number and those types of things. So you can add a lot of different logic to do this. I mentioned the different types of visualization. We can provide static images as part of a selection or configuration process. This is, pretty much table stakes. Everybody has that, but at the same point, they can be very valuable. I showed to you the dynamic and fully parametric 2D drawings like you can see with the interior door. We can present 3D CAD model assemblies like this gearbox. It can be used downstream in the manufacturing processes. We also have real-time interactive 3D capabilities that engage that buyer when they're researching, and it provides a visual confirmation of the product that they've just selected or configured. Here you can see this particular transformer. When it shows up at the job site, it's in a frame, right, or a box. Well, what the installer really wants to see before he starts that process is what's one of those coils look like. I want to make sure that I have the particular filament for it. And so he might want to see during the speccing or estimating process, or even before it shows up on the job site, he might want to go into that order and be able to see that, yes, it has that exact filament. And then we have augmented reality capabilities. That drives even more engagement because it renders digital images and shows the data in a buyer's particular space. Whether it's a piece of furniture or a piece of equipment, you can do that configuration or selection and literally as if that product is right next to you. And then finally, being able to produce automated real time images that are almost like Photoshop, what you see with the boat, right? You're changing the racing stripe or you're changing some particular accessories. It's especially valuable with logos and fabrics and paints and those kinds of things.